Welcome back to the Ben Mulroney Show, and it's not a Wednesday without our Wednesday panel for This Week in Politics. We got Andy Gibbons from Wallgate Advisory, former VP at WestJet, and Mr. Regan Watts, founder of Fratton Park, Inc., and former senior aide to Jim Flaherty. Welcome, gentlemen.
Bonjour, mon chum, Miigwech.
Morning, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. All right, so a few weeks ago, one of my panelists on another This Week in Politics panel, I believe it was the Monday panel, suggested that we could be in danger of reliving 1979, in that a young minority government, it was Joe Clark's Conservatives at the time, and now it's Mark Carney's Liberals, were unable to get their ambitious budget passed. Government fell, and we went into an election. And then we were subjected to another 5 years of Pierre Trudeau père. And I got to wonder what you guys think, because there is a worry, at least according to the Toronto Star, Mark Carney is worried that his budget won't pass. Regan, do the arithmetic for us. Who needs to support this so that we don't have a repeat of 79?
So a couple things, Ben. First is, I think it was last week I said that there is 0% chance that this budget
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was in the context of the Bloc Québécois and their ridiculous demands in exchange for votes in the House of Commons. I remain of that view that the budget is going to pass. The math is pretty simple. The NDP and likely Elizabeth May, I expect to vote for the budget. Let's be clear. Prime Minister Carney has spent his career counting, whether it's economic data, financial data, and whatnot. And Mr. Clark, who was a fine foreign minister, was not a great counter, which is why your father didn't make him finance minister. And so the Clark government failed in 79 because they couldn't count in the House of Commons the most basic of counting, which is votes. I think the Prime Minister, and from what I understand and have read in media reports, has done outreach to the opposition parties to find out where they might have interest in the budget, the bloc aside. And I suspect there will be enough in the budget for the NDP, who are in the midst of a leadership race, and Elizabeth May, who is quite fond of the Prime Minister and shares a lot of, let's call it, progressive conservative values. She's an outrageous extremist when it comes to climate change and Hamas and her love for Hamas and Palestine. But there's enough commonality between the two of them that I expect that he will get the votes, to answer your question directly, from those two parties.
Yeah, and Andy, look, I don't think the Conservatives will be able to look themselves in the eye if they don't vote for this and say, look, we're a Conservative party. We're not going to vote for a budget that contains this much spending and a budget or a budget deficit of whatever X is. But the NDP, for self-preservation purposes, even if they disagree with this budget, just for political pragmatism, are going to have to vote for it. They have no leader, they have no money, they have no vision, they have no connection yet to their base that they lost in the last election. So they got a lot of rebuilding to do, and they need runway to do it.
Well, I thought if you caught Minister McKinnon's scrum yesterday, the day before, he kind of had a smirk on his face. I think Liberals think they have everyone right where they want them, and it's win-win-win. It's interesting, the media coverage about this budget. When Stephen Harper was Prime Minister and had a minority government, it was always, well, what efforts has the Conservative government done to make sure the opposition supports the budget? And this time the media coverage sort of is, what efforts has the opposition parties made to support the Carney budget? So I just find that a little interesting. I think Liberals are a little bit smug going into all this.
Sorry, I want to interrupt you for just a second, Andy. Yeah. It would be interesting if the coverage wasn't laid out as you just described. That would be interesting. Yes. This is par for the course.
Yeah. What is everyone doing to support this great Prime Minister we're so privileged to have run our nation, that makes Regan purr every week, right? So I think the Liberals are just a tad smug on this. And I think that the lesson for them and what the mandate Canadians gave them is get down to the nation's business, be workmanlike and businesslike. So I think they're kind of half there. But, Minister McKinnon was really smirking when he took these questions. Well, if there's an election, it's on them, and they'll have to answer for that. And, grinning like the Cheshire cat.
Okay. Well, we won't have to wait too much longer. It should be coming in just over a week. Okay, let's talk inflation. It's creeping up again, which is not a surprise. But here's a question, just because you guys know economics far more than I. I mean, Regan, you worked for a Minister of Finance. So why is it that when prices go up, they go up and they go up, and then when whatever pressures were put on those prices to go up, when those pressures disappear, the prices don't come down?
I worked for the finance minister, but not because of my deep understanding of economics. I think I got a D in my first year economics
True
course
statement.
in my undergraduate. However, I do know a little bit about economics, and that is there's this thing called price stickiness, which is a Keynesian term, and that is to say when prices go up, they're quick to move up, but when inflation or costs are down, prices typically go down, and that is because, and I'm oversimplifying it, of course, I am certainly not an economist, but the rationale is that consumers adjust faster to price changes than companies and producers. And so it really is a factor of, as I understand it, price economics and how quickly people respond. Companies aren't quick to turn around and lower their prices because if consumers are habitual beings, when they get into purchasing something for a certain price, they sort of tend to forget about it. And so that really is the rationale as to why that takes place. However, I should be clear, I am not auditioning to be governor of the Bank of Canada.
Come on, that laying out price stickiness. I mean, you're speaking the language of the people, and that's what we need in the Bank of Canada governor's position. Andy, how do you see it? And let me ask you just a personal question as well. Where do you land on the idea of brand loyalty? Like, look, if company A raises their prices, are you more apt to look at company B when you go to the grocery store if they're giving you a similar product at a cheaper price?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's been forced to do that. I mean, I haven't historically been one who's really been focused on, whether butter's $7.99 or $4.99 or what have you. But I do find myself lately doing that. I think every Canadian is doing that. There's loyalty is kind of gone. Like you're just not gonna pay $9 for a pound of butter. We pay.
Yeah, but
you're not gonna do that. No matter how much you love Galen Weston, no matter how much you love No Name or President's Choice, you're not gonna do it.
Yeah, but I think you are, because I've sort of parallel to that impulse is the Buy Canadian initiative, right? And it's it's conventional wisdom that between two products, if one's Canadian, one comes from China, the one from China is going to be cheaper. So what does that do to this impetus to go getting the best deal, Regan?
Well, I think Ben, Andy's point about cost of living is germane. Back to our earlier conversation about the budget, it is something that Canadians are feeling from coast to coast. Yep. Everything is more expensive. Whether it's a coffee at Tim Hortons or you're buying your butter at the grocery store, you're buying a car. And so I think that's the real challenge that policymakers have coming in this country, both at the federal and provincial level, which is how can they continue to lower the cost of living for Canadians. Housing obviously is the one that gets most attention, but it's right across the board in terms of goods and services that people consume. One thing is for sure, though, when governments run deficits, it does lead and add to inflation. That is an empirical fact that has been demonstrated certainly during COVID, but over the course of time. Now, there's reasons for that, gold standard being gone away with and whatnot, but that is a fact. What we have in this country, though, is governments who have a spending problem, not a revenue problem, and the people are taxed. It is absolutely insane in this country that anybody in the highest marginal tax rate of 54.6% in the province of Ontario, for example, that more than half of your income goes to government. If you add up sales tax and gas tax, all these other kind of user fees, it's insane. And for one, would be in favor of a constitutional amendment that makes it illegal for governments in Canada to take more than 50% of your income in total and in aggregate. Because it's, as I say, it's not a spending, it's not a revenue problem that governments have at all levels. It's a spending problem.
See, like first I thought you were going to be the head of the Bank of Canada. Now I think you're running for leadership of the Conservative Party. Hey, don't go anywhere. Much more to come with our panel right after the break. Thanks so much for watching the show. Now, if you enjoyed what you saw, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of The Ben Mulroney Show.